Grab you a milkshake and a hamburger. We're talking Riverdale. This is a review for Riverdale, Chapter 21. Guess who's back? So, this episode had a lot going on in it, and just, it felt bloated, and I just didn't like it. I don't even know where to begin to describe it. Usually I talk about two simple storylines, but there was nothing simple about the storylines that we got in this episode. We've got Jughead and Betty. At first, they were going to investigate the murder house that we found out in the last episode. And then we find out that FP, Jughead's dad's getting out, so they decide they're going to throw him a party. No, first he's just getting out. And they figure, we got a lot going on, and we can't investigate this murder house. Because we can't take it to the sheriff to find out stuff because Betty accused him last week of being the killer. So they hand that storyline off to Archie and Veronica. So Archie and Veronica go and they start investigating the murder house. And they find out that, this family got wiped out by someone in the middle of the night just showed up with a shotgun and started shooting people. They talk to the Sheriff Keller. He tells them, well, I wasn't here for that. The records are missing, probably because the sheriff before me, Sheriff Howard, he was investigating it. Maybe he took the evidence home, and then he never brought it back, which is pretty much was the case. And they end up calling this guy's daughter, and she's like, my father was obsessed with this shit to the day he died. I don't want to talk about it. So then Archie and Veronica go to the murder house where they just happen to find the files that were missing in the murder house. Betty didn't notice them when she was there. When the Black Hood killer was just stringing her along like a puppet, she had gone to this house in the middle of nowhere, and he had her put on the black hood and look in the mirror. And anyway, they go to the murder house. They find these files, and they realize that there was a survivor. That one of the kids of the family wasn't killed that night. And then, through some more detective work, looking at yearbooks, they realize the missing kid is the creepy janitor guy from, the last episode. So they talk to him. They track him down and confront him. He's like, hey, you're that guy whose whole family got wiped out. Because they just think that, that would have been his reaction. His family got wiped out, so he ends up becoming a vigilante killer. And, Archie throws him up against the locker. And the guy's like, no, I'm not killing people to get vengeance for what happened to my family, because I already got vengeance. He, apparently, when it happened, he hid, but only long enough so the killer didn't realize he was there. And then he found out who the killer is. A little later, he got together with, basically a lynch mob. And he pointed the guy out. He's like, hey, that's the guy who killed my family. And they killed that guy. So, problem solved. That was probably the most interesting thing about this episode was the Black Hood stuff. And this family that got wiped out. Creepy janitor guy is like, hey, he was a preacher and a con man who killed his family. And we know that the Black Hood killer kills sinners. So maybe there's something there. I think the Black Hood killer, the Black Hood might be related to the guy who killed everyone in that house because he killed sinners. He might be the son. So that would be interesting. And I'm still not giving up on my theory that the Black Hood is some ex-cop who lost his family or something to the Black Hood killer. Because, we've got talking about this old sheriff and his investigation. So, they're bringing that cop angle back in. Like I said, that was the most interesting thing. It was the stuff with the Black Hood. Everything else just felt bloated. It's like, so FP's getting out of jail. And we get a little bit of his, new life starting to turn things around. Working at Pops as, a waiter. They had an interesting scene where, Cheryl, sees him and she just knocks her milkshake to the floor. She's like, could you clean that up? I'm like, wow, what a stone cold bitch. She's just being a spoiled little rich girl. because earlier they had a scene where, her and Josie are in the locker room, and she's like, "Oh, Josie, let me get your back," like, because she's, got an obsession with Josie apparently. And, she's about ready to put some oil on. In walks the creepy janitor guy, and she chews him out. He's like, "Get out of here with your male privilege, cleaning the girls' locker room." It's like, male privilege? Fucking A. He's the janitor. Anyway, it just kind of goes with her just being a rich, spoiled snob. And that's what I think was going on. And then she goes, "Yeah, clean up that milkshake like you cleaned up my brother's blood." I'm like, okay, that's fair enough. She has no reason to like FP. And the reason he got freed may have been due to her testimony, which he got blackmailed into by Betty. So I'm okay. I'm just gonna give Cheryl a pass on that, but not the whole male privilege thing to the fucking janitor, who, as it turns out, has spent his whole life dealing with this sort of post-traumatic stress of seeing his whole family wiped out. Obviously, the guy never got it together because he's the janitor. No offense to janitors. I'm not saying that, it's a profession that only people who can't get it together take. But, I mean, I think that's what Riverdale was saying. Anyway, like I said, so that happens. Then Jughead's like, my father used to be a king. Now he's just a lonely waiter. And decide they're going to throw him a party. And, as they're setting up this party, Betty's talking to Alice. And, Alice decides she's going to go to the party. And then Betty wants to get more into bed with the serpents. So she finds out if she strips for them, she can join the serpents, which she does later. Which I thought was a bit gratuitous. It's like, come on, Ruby. I know you've got attractive actors and actors, but you don't have to have them, in their underwear or shirtless at least once an episode. I mean, some of it just, like, a bit gratuitous. Anyway, like I said, so that's what, Betty does. She ends up stripping so she can join the serpents, but this all goes to shit because FP decides he wants to be in the serpents again, which causes Jughead to realize he's fucked everything up. Because the reason that FP decided to join the serpents again is he found out that Jughead's been working for Penelope. And he's like, "No, I'm going to get you out of the serpents. I'm going to take care of Penelope." And Jughead sees this as a massive failure on his part. And he says, "Betty, you stick with me. This is all going to go to shit." And he breaks up. They break up. And I'm like, oh my God, really? Just like that. And of course, I had this feeling because Veronica and Archie broke up in the same episode for much the same reason. Where, Veronica couldn't tell Archie she loved him because Archie said, "Hey, I love you" at one point. I didn't even see it, and I don't even remember at what point he said he loved her, but that, of course, becomes an important plot point where they end up breaking up because Veronica's worried that, Archie, if he stays with her, everything in his life's going to go to shit because she's bad and, she'll just corrupt him. And it's the same thing with, Jughead breaking up with Betty because he wants to protect him. Like, what the fuck? Jesus Christ, Riverdale, do you not watch your own episodes? Betty and Archie, I'm not going to say, I don't know, corrupt or bad, but they're as jaded as those two. Betty tried to drown a guy. Archie went around with a gun, started a vigilante gang. They got a wild side to them too. I think they'll do fine with you. You're kind of, you're all matched together. And of course, the whole reason that they had everyone break up is so they could get Archie and Betty together, which was at the end of the episode where the two of them are looking at each other through the windows. It's like, oh, wow. Okay? I get that relationships in TV shows can kind of make things a little bit stale and boring. But, I mean, you could have given it more time before you decided to pull the rug under it. Or maybe you could have someone hook up with fucking Reggie. All the fucking stories in this episode, Reggie didn't get shit. He wasn't even in the episode. He got mentioned because he was trying to get Josie to do a gig at his father's car rental shop. Or, no, not car rental, used car lot or something like that. And it's like, I'd like to see a little more jokey, but no, he didn't get shit. All this fucking crap that they got going on in one fucking episode, and they don't give Reggie shit. And that's just starting to annoy me. Like I said, a lot going on in this episode. Just character-wise, and they just kind of double down on stories for the characters. It feels like you got 2-3 stories going on with one character. So I just, I didn't like tonight's episode. I just didn't like it.